Welcome to Flooring Models Kit Review Time. Today we've got Balsa Foam. Now it's not balsa wood, this is balsa foam. Now to be honest, this is one of those things where you never realise how versatile a product is until you start to play with it, and then your mind starts to think about, well, you could use it here, you could use it there, and before you know it, it's going to be probably one of those things which is really handy to have in the old arsenal of tools and things like that, that you can just grab and do something with where nothing else can quite cut it. And this is definitely one of those things. Now, balsa foam, as I say, it's not balsa wood, it's basically a very high density foam, which, you know, as you can probably hear, is rock hard. So imagine like an oasis, you know, sort of your flowers go into and things like that, but imagine that rock hard. Okay, this is what this stuff is. Now it comes out in sort of three flavors we got down here. So we've got the number 10, the number 5, and we've got the number 20. So basically what that is the soft, the medium, and the hard type. As you might imagine, that's obviously the density of the foam that's in here. Now, little disclaimer, because everybody mentions it, and a couple of people I know use this stuff said to me as well, I have to say it, if you're using it with metal tools, make sure you clean them thoroughly afterwards, because the dust off of this, it is like a corrosive, okay? So what happens is that moisture then gets attracted to this stuff and it will rust your blades, items, knives, whatever it is. But if you just wipe them clean, a little bit of oil on there, perhaps something else like that, you'll have no problems with it. It's just that in its raw state, apparently it's a bit of a moisture magnet and it rusts to things and stuff like that. Okay, so what can you use with it? All right, well, this is the ones we got down here. We've got a couple of bits on the go, and I'm going to show you a couple of things you can do. Okay, think masters of anything. Okay, so if you needed to make you know, certain little items, perhaps a little roll, perhaps an ammo can, perhaps you needed a bit of a barrel, perhaps you need this, perhaps you need that, okay, and you're a little bit nifty and a little bit crafty, which is one thing I am definitely not, you know, you could literally carve with this stuff. And this is where this stuff is really nice, because if we just show you, like on here, this is, I imagine, the harder one of the two. If we do it on the slightly softer one, you can actually just come along like this and you can carve it. And as you can see, you do get, if I just put a tighter camera angle up, a very nice clean cut with it, literally just like that. Okay, so you can literally go around and you can take corners off and you can carve it and you can put little chinks in it and whatever you want to do. Okay, so you can do that very, very easily. The other thing as well, it sands beautifully. If we just find a medium skinny, okay, so for this stuff, this is a medium, and obviously this is the softer one, so it will carve through this really, really easy. So again, you can carve into it, you can shape, you can smooth with it, whatever you want to do. It's very straightforward. This is the finer side of the two, and as you can see, you get an absolutely beautiful line with it. It's not like if you were doing the normal sort of high density foams, because the trouble with those is you get the big holes in them and all the rest of it. This is more for your more detailed work. This is if you need to carve something specifically, or make a shape or something you want to do, you can literally just make one out and carve into this. Because it's quite soft, you can use, if I just use the back of a paintbrush, you can literally come in and you can depress shapes into it, literally as simple as that. It's very, very simple. So that way you could go off and you could start to make a wall if you wanted to, or whatever it is, and whatever shape you wanted to do. So if you're thinking about making a wall, for instance, so let's just assume you're thinking, okay, well, a little wall here, so what I'm going to do is probably going to need a couple of passes through this. You don't want to just chop through it in one, because otherwise it's going to crack. Okay, but you can probably hear it's come through, but you can see it's nice and clean cut. But if you wanted to, you could make up a little wall, a sort of stone wall effect, or whatever it is. As I say, I am, to be honest, crap at crafts and stuff like this. It's amazing the job I do, but you can imagine, you know what we're getting at here. Okay, so if you wanted that sort of a wall effect, okay, you could just come in and there we go, that's my very simple wall. But then what you do, you'd level it out, you put it down, you would then three-dimensionalize it, so you could come in from the edges and you could put in, you know, right on the edges and things like that, as if your stones have all met in. And then obviously on the other side, so if you're doing a diorama and you want a wall, you can quickly knock one of these up with it. And the same goes with the top as well. You could easily just make a sort of flagstone sort of top on it, literally like this. Okay, and then you can literally then just sand in, wear down if it's a little bit too much height. Just take a little bit off of here, for instance, and a bit off of here. And if you wanted to round off these edges, you know, literally. You can see it's a bit messy. You might want to put a cover down and definitely perhaps like a damp area. But there we go. That's me being a complete, you know, rubbish guy at this. The other thing as well you can do is stone wall effect. So this little tool was supplied with me. So if you wanted to, you could make a brick wall effect using this guy. So you can literally just slightly push into it. And as you can see, we can do a little brick wall effects with this one, which is quite nice. And one would assume you could make shapes out of everything really to sort of do this, but as you see, you get that sort of nice brick effect as you're working round. Yeah, I know technically it probably should be offset a little bit more. Okay, but you know what I mean. Okay, and also you can make bigger bricks or light bricks or whatever you wanted to do. Okay, but again, I'm just whipping through here to show, but you can see what I mean about how quick and easy this stuff is to make up that type of thing. So also you could use it for diorama bases and stuff like that, and there is some very good examples down here with the pros how they do it, carving this stuff up, and as you can see down here you can see it's carved up there and everything else like that. But it is that thing, it's you could use it for making masters and stuff. One thing I probably think you're going to have a hard time with if you wanted to use this as making a master and perhaps casting off of it, because I don't know of any sort of, you know, making a sort of a mould that wouldn't soak into this. This is still quite porous, so it's going to cause problems. So what you would need to do is obviously dunk this into something that's going to not be absorbed so heavily, or perhaps overcoat it with many coats of a type of varnish before you actually used it and everything else like that. But this is just one of those products where you're thinking, yeah, but where would I use it and everything else? But as soon as your mind starts to sort of give up and you move through, you can start to think of all different scenarios you could do with it. So if you have got something like a big hole that needs filling, you could just put a chunk of this in, sand right over it, and then fill it over the top of that, and away you go. It'll be a quick, easy fix. Diorama bases, you know, something like this size, obviously it comes in bigger ones, so you'd get 4 out of it. But if you wanted to do that, if you wanted to do a slightly bigger one, something down here, you can sandwich this stuff together and glue it together to get thicker parts of it to make big lumps and stuff. So as you say, down on the actual pictures down here, you can see some of the things other people have done with it. Again, you know, making up sort of masters down like that and right the way through to, I assume they probably CNC this stuff to sort of make big things out of it and everything else like that. It is messy, but as I said, it's one of those things where it's a great product because you can do just so much with it. And as I say, if you are a little bit more artistic, and sort of definitely not like me, but you can see you can carve and slice into this stuff cleanly, which is something we haven't actually seen before, and I assume that it will work quite well with sanding sponges. So let's try it in with something like this. So we're just going to carve in and smooth this out, and you can see how easily this stuff absolutely beautiful to work with. So if you just wanted to smooth out an area, let's just take this as a complete round area now, and it takes very little work. Also the dust, although this stuff is quite dusty, doesn't seem to go airborne. It's not like you're breathing this in, but you can see with the sand how well that's worked, and I'm not sure how well this will work on perhaps some of my other sanders, the polisher type ones, if it will give you even nicer finish, or what this will go down to. At the moment this is just the soft one, so this is the softer out of them all, but yeah, you can look at that, how smooth and soft that edge is. So again, just think of the big thing. I would be thinking mainly sort of dioramas and stuff like that, but if you did need internal details into something like an aircraft, you could easily then put this up, chop it into thinner layers, build it up, and then tool into it to give you that type of look and everything else. But obviously everything is in sort of the male mold, if you like, coming off of it. But generally I think it's just one of those really nice products where you could literally just, you know, your mind sort of just rolls of how far you could do with it. Mainly I'm thinking, as I said, diorama bases, stuff like that would be absolutely fantastic for this. This is me, you know, trying to make a wall with it and all the rest of it. But then you could imagine, well look, you could probably put little flagstones on the top of that. So let's just try something. Okay, so we're just going to use a longer bit of blade. So again, razor saw, that's going to cut through this beautifully, isn't it, at the end of the day? I think you have no problem with that. But you can just come up with something else like this, okay, and then we could make a little tops to the walls. Okay, and then we'll just round this guy down a bit. Try and distress him a little bit so we just get off of that sort of natural look. Okay, and then you could come up and literally put tops on the wall right the way around. But this is the thing with it, it is so easy to use. It is like, Oasis block, but works. Whereas before that sort of Oasis stuff never really worked. Like here, for instance, I'm thinking, it looks a bit thick and a bit rubbish at one end, so we just sand it down. So, I would be thinking that would work really, really well. So again, you can pop a couple of those on there and we'll make a little wall and stuff like that. Again, it is quite messy, I'm not going to lie, but damp towel down first, that would be no problem at all. But as I said, when you have clean off your blades and your things like that, because it can rust things. It is quite a disclaimer. This is the harder one, which is a lot harder, as you can probably see, but still you can sand into this. It's a lot more harder to sand into it, but it will do it. You can then just, if you wanted to, put a channel in just like that. Very, very straightforward, very, very easy. But again, it's that thing of like, having that free artistic thing. Pushing in on this one, obviously it's a lot harder to push into, but you could still do it. It's not like it's something that couldn't be done, and everything else. So if you did want to build your wall or whatever you wanted to do with it, you could do it quite easily and work your way through. So there we go, something where you probably never knew you needed it, but actually it's one of those things where once you've got it, you think, I could do such and such with it. But as you said, if you wanted to make sandbags, okay, and you just wanted to quickly whip up a load of sandbags, it'll be quite a straightforward job with something like this without having to wait for it to sort of dry and everything else. I think a couple of coats of PVA glue over the top, paint it to all your bits and pieces. Very straightforward. If you wanted to do like a mortar pit, you could then carve this out and have that natural sort of stone look inside it and all the rest of it if you wanted to do it or anything else like that. But again, if you just need a product that carves beautifully, very easy to use, obviously it's very lightweight as well and everything else, this is definitely the stuff to get. So there we go, balsa foam. Not balsa wood, balsa foam. A definite must. So a big thank you to Brevco Modelling for sending us over some samples to play with. Absolutely fantastic people, easy to deal with. You can get it all direct from them at brevcomodeling.nl over in the Netherlands.